Welcome into the Bear Squad Show. I'm Joe George, post-game host. It was a wild game and a night when Caleb Williams was elite, but unfortunately, the offense falls short at the very end.
And I'm Lauren Cox, host of the Locked On Bears. The offense only falls short because the defense, over and over again, couldn't get the big stop when the Bears needed it the most.
Bear down, Chicago. It's the Bears Squad. Everything Chicago Bears, every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Windy City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From Soldier Field to the next great chapter, the Bears Squad Show starts now.
Welcome into the Bear Squad Show here on the Locked On Bears YouTube channel and audio platforms. Joe George, Lauren Cox here with you for the next hour as we react to the wild Sunday night football game between the Bears and the 49ers. The Bears have won the North, but we'll discuss that at the very end because the offense was elite in this game throughout most of it. Falls a little short at the end. The defense was not very good. Caleb and Luther Burden had a great connection, but we did see Luther Burden go down, and we won't have a real update probably on the show here as he's getting x-rays for his hamstring, it sounds like at the moment. But Lauren, it was a wild game, basically from start to finish. Pick six to start the game. And well, that was pretty much the end of the good things for the defense in this game.
Yeah, I mean, at least they found a way at some point to break the 49ers punt streak, make them punt for the first time since the end of November. But yeah, it was one of those games that, you know, you could kind of feel that getting out of hand in terms of just like, all right, this is like Big 12 football. Like, this is like defense is not going to be much of a thing here. Like, pass rush isn't much of a thing. And it's just going to be not fire at will, but it was way too easy for the 49ers. And after like a couple of drives, it's way too easy for the Bears. You kind of felt like, all right, this is going to be a game of, you know, who holds on to the ball last. Unfortunately, the Bears did hold on to the ball last, and they weren't able to finish it on top. But I also left feeling like, man, any game your defense gives up 42 points, I'm not really sure I'm expecting your offense to be able to win.
Yeah, it's one of those where I think you look at the history of the Bears, and someone tweeted this out during the game, but in the Chicago Bears history, they are 4-122, now 4-123 all time when allowing at least 35 points. One of those 4 wins did happen this season against the Cincinnati Bengals, but it's part of it is like this game, it's how many times can Caleb Williams in this offense keep putting their little pixie dust on everything and just making the world better for all of us Bears fans by saving the day at the end of the day when the defense isn't good enough. Like, yeah, Morstead punted twice in this game, and that's 2 more times than he had punted in the month of December. But the defense really had no pressure on Brock Purdy. Christian McCaffrey, before he started stretching out his back and even a little bit after, was pretty much doing whatever he wanted at will. It just kind of felt like the magic ran out a little bit for this game for the Bears, honestly.
Yeah, there's some familiarity to like the first Packers loss there too, where it's like, man, Caleb scores a bunch of times late and keeps crawling this team back in, and then we're all going to remember the last play of the game, although this one not nearly as catastrophic as the last play of that Packers game, but like it's sort of one of those feelings of like, man, it shouldn't have needed him to drive down not just once at the end of the game, but drive down over and over again to catch up without his defense being able to kind of hold up their end of the bargain there. Like, yeah, absolutely, you'd like to see a better pass at the very end there, but like, man, he got them all the way down there on that drive. He got them all the way down the drive before that. Like, they were consistently moving this ball, especially, you know, in the second half. I know they started a little bit slow, but once they were rolling, this was as good of a Caleb Williams performance as we've seen, and that's without Rome Odunze, and really whatever version of DJ Moore this is, well, he was sick, was not 100% DJ Moore. So there's so much to like from this game that does get erased by how it ended. But, you know, back and forth the whole time kind of tells you this was a coin flip game all along.
Yeah, let's hit on that last drive first here, because there's a couple things that happen that are uncharacteristic of a couple of the guys, or at least one guy. Colson Loveland literally had his first drop of the season. Luther Burden, who's been mostly sure hands, like he's had his moments this season where he's had drops. He has a drop on this drive as well. So like, you're moving the ball well, but you're also in critical spots having to ask Caleb and Luther Burden, these guys, to make bigger plays on 3rd and long, 4th and long to convert. So it's not like they were just easily getting down the field. And then there's this hook and ladder play, which is one of the wildest things you could ever do in that situation.
Yeah, you can never put anything past Ben Johnson, but like and I'm sure they have practiced it a bunch, and we've seen other teams do this type of thing, but you don't, even in the modern NFL, you don't see teams guess the Chiefs are the kind of one that does like lateral it on a play that is not the last play of the game, or trust a non-quarterback to lateral the ball on a play that's not a Hail Mary, last play, just trying to create something to happen. Like the risk of a fumble there. And I think it's worth noting that is a rookie lateraling it to a player there, right? It's not like, okay, Cole Kmet is a 8-year pro who they will trust enough to line up under center and take snaps. Like they trust Cole Kmet's ball handling enough as a QB sneak guy, a former quarterback type player. Like I could talk myself a little bit more into saying like, here is trusted veteran hands here, but like a rookie to lateral it to a running back on the move is ballsy and risky, and it absolutely works. But if it doesn't work on that play, we are ripping Ben Johnson right now the same way we did on the first drive against the Packers when the snap to Kyle Monangai went over his head. Like it's the same idea where when it works, no one has a problem with it. When it doesn't work, he gets too cute and he's a bad play caller in that moment.
Yeah, and honestly, I think there's even a little room to be critical of how it played out in this one, because that play ends with 10 seconds left on the clock, roughly. They have to run to the line of scrimmage, spike it with 4 seconds, where, like, is there an argument that if you just run a more traditional play, maybe there's 7 seconds left on the clock instead of the hook and ladder, and maybe you get 2 plays at the end zone instead of just 1 at the very end. I guess it's just the new norm we have to live in with Ben Johnson. Like, it could be a flea flicker on the first play of a game, or it could be a hook and ladder on the most critical play of the game. Like you never know what to expect with this guy. And I think that's great. It's great to have with your coach. And the Bears have, for the most part this year, outside of the Monangai play, have executed all these trick plays very well. But still, when that ball was flipped to DeAndre Swift, I was just shocked that it was happening.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little shocked when he threw it to Loveland, like breaking. It was like a curl route or like a little in route, like towards the middle of the field, short of the sticks. I was like, there's like half second of what are they doing before he flips it to DeAndre Swift. And it's like, really, what are they doing? But I wonder if design wise, if maybe plan A there is that, as Loveland is breaking towards the inside, he's supposed to be taking all the defense's momentum towards the middle of the field. And that when he flips to Swift, is Swift supposed to get to the sideline there? Or is the intention, that Swift should be able to then get to the sideline and get a bounce, and Swift gets the ball, realizes, there's a defender between me and the sideline, so I'm not going to be able to stop the clock. So I got to just turn up field and get as many yards as I can here, knowing I'm probably not going to get the touchdown, but it's like, again, I could either fight horizontally or fight vertically at that point, so I got to just fight vertically. I wonder when they practice that play if it normally results in a stop clock at the sideline or not.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because, and honestly, like, he was close to just breaking it. Like, it was a good tackle there by the 49ers defense. So, like, it's very possible that play just ends in a touchdown. To backtrack before we get to the final play, one that just popped back into my mind, which I'm like, I like Chris Collinsworth. I don't think he likes Caleb Williams, because Caleb was elite in this game, and we'll discuss that more in this next segment. But that throw he did miss to Duvernay as he's getting heavily pressured is a wide open touchdown if he makes it. I'm a little surprised by the criticism from Collinsworth on that one, because the amount of pressure that Caleb was facing. Yes, you want Caleb to make that throw, but there's 3 guys in his face. He's off his back foot. What'd you think of that play and the criticism you were hearing from Collinsworth in that moment?
Yeah, I think it's tricky with Caleb in particular, because we know he has the arm strength to throw seemingly any ball from any angle, right? Like even the first touchdown, I think it was the Burden touchdown. Or maybe it was Colson Loveland. He's flat-footed in the pocket and still fires. Yeah, that was the Burden touchdown at the seam, and still fires a perfectly placed deep ball 40 yards downfield without, really like setting his feet and getting all of his might into it. And so when he short hops it to Duvernay, and there was another check down like that too, when he's flush in the pocket. It's an insanely difficult throw, but like we expect that this guy specifically with this kind of arm strength that he's already shown in this game, that he can fire it with just ridiculous angles to at least like give him a catchable ball and not be so underthrown. Like I think it's one thing if he's under pressure and he overshoots a guy. There was one of those, I think he overshot Colston Loveland. And that I'm a little bit more like, all right, yeah, he's under pressure. He's just trying to fire it down there. Those I can understand. It's when he one hops it. It's like you have the arm strength. There shouldn't be. Again, it's like it's higher standards than we hold most quarterbacks to, and maybe that's the part that's not fair. But he is a number 1 overall pick. We want to have high standards there, but like he should have the arm. If anybody can get the wide open guy, not to even be pinpoint accurate, like in stride, but just give him a catchable ball that's not underthrown. I can understand where Collinsworth is like, man, we've seen this guy do it all game. Why can't he do it in those moments?
Yeah, I think that is fair. Like and again, when you look at the back angle, like Duvernay, that's a touchdown. And if it's not a touchdown, he's probably down at worst the 5-yard line. It's all green in front of him. And then you get the final play again where it's a lot of pressure. Kalo has to roll out, try to make some magic, shorts it to the end zone. Doesn't really get off like a catchable ball there in the moment. And that's where it's like they just fell short in this one. It's not a great play. It's not great blocking. It's really just a bad play there at the end of the game.
Yeah, and the one thing I'm stuck on from the last play of the game is the throw we actually did see Caleb make. Like I'm surprised, and I haven't had enough. Like, the game just finished. I haven't had a lot of time to like synthesize this. So like I'm not sure how critical I want to be, but like you want your quarterback to like throw a jump ball there, right? Like he just like fired in some kind of laser that I think hit the ground before it hit anybody. Like, and I get that like he has the arm strength where like if he thinks he's got 6 inches of a window to hit a receiver, that's in theory a better pass than a jump ball that anybody could catch. Like if he truly thinks, ooh, I've got something here, I'm not going to tell him, no, don't try to get the tough touchdown throw. But if you really truly got nothing there and you're like, oh crap, ball has to come out now, that's got to be a jump ball Hail Mary to say Colston Loveland go up and get it. I don't remember who all exactly was on the field, but I think Loveland and Komet were both out there. I mean, I know you don't have a lot of size at wide receiver on the field in this game, but still like give those two tight ends essentially the world's shortest Hail Mary shot at tipping something up and something crazy happened. Maybe it's picked off, but it doesn't matter. It's the last play of the game. So I find myself wanting better from Caleb Williams on that play, but I'd have to kind of go back and rewatch that throw to see like how close was it actually to maybe somebody who was just really tightly covered. But that struck me right away as like not a great ball there in an already impossible situation.
Yeah, I think it's an impossible situation, like you just said, but you got to give everyone a chance, right? Like we've seen the Bears get hit by it in the past, and our history of being Bears fans of tip passes, and like once a week I see not DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney catching a Hail Mary at the 1-yard line and not scoring. It comes viral on TikTok for some reason, but it's like you just need an opportunity there, and the Bears just didn't give themselves an opportunity on that last play. So I think it's fair for sure to be critical of that. Maybe when we rewatch it, like we'll feel differently, like you said, but in the moment, you want the ball to be in the air more than it was. Jack here in the chat live here on YouTube is criticizing the timeout usage there and the clock management in the final drive. I am curious, like where you fall on that, because it just feel like maybe they use one when they didn't need to there at the very end. But I wouldn't say this is like a reason why they lost is on Ben Johnson, the way he uses timeouts there on the final drive.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him make poor clock management decisions before. So I'm open to the idea of like, hey, yeah, maybe that wasn't the most efficient. I mean, as it was happening, it didn't jump out at me as like, oh my God, why did he call a timeout there type of situation? But at the same time, did it feel like the most efficient operation and use of like, when to no huddle and when to go for it? I imagine Ben probably has either a person in the booth or a literal. I mean, I know like high school football coaches will have a literal sheet of paper that tells them. I'm assuming in the NFL, they've got people that are saying, based on how much time is on the clock and how many yards were gained on the previous play, you have a rough estimate of how long it's going to take your guys to get up and spike the ball and run another play versus when you need to call a timeout there. And there's probably someone in his ear saying, all right, in one particular situation, whatever, they completed a 5-yard pass to Luther Burden with 45 seconds left. With 40 seconds left, they took a timeout and they're thinking, okay, depending on where on the field they are, how long is it going to take to get that ball back to a hash mark, a referee to spot it, to get everybody lined up and to either spike the ball and lose it down or get another play right away. And they've got math somewhere that tells them this is when we need to burn one or when we don't need to burn one. And I can at least give them some benefit of the doubt that their math there, that their staff has in theory worked through those situations to kind of know based on down and distance at game situation. But I agree. It felt, I don't know, could you have hurried up one more time there and then saved that timeout? I mean, you also had, earlier in the game, like a delay of game situation. And there were a few different like clock management moments that weren't ideal there, but it's a little bit lower on the list of, things I'm most concerned about or things that most contributed to the loss. Probably didn't help, but wasn't the deciding factor.
Yeah, I think ultimately, and we'll get to we'll talk about the good things we saw from the offense, because there's obviously so many good things in this game that we'll do that in the next segment. And the third segment of the show, we'll talk about the disaster that was the defense. Again, Luther Burden at the end of the game was shown on the TV injured. Courtney Cronin said he tried to get up to walk off the field. He went back down, was then carted off the field, said he was reaching for his right hamstring. So we'll wait and see. They mentioned this. We all know this. Like they expect Roma Dunze to come back at some point, either next week or in the playoffs. But a Luther Burden injury would be devastating for the Bears with the way, especially their connection was going off tonight. All right, let's take our first break. Oh, go ahead.
One quick clock management thing. I found myself more concerned about how after the spike, there was almost a delay of game on the last.
Yes.
Of the game, like Caleb Williams was just barely, like someone just started motion and they had to snap the ball with like 1 or 0 on the clock. Like that was making me more nervous. I really would have liked just like a quicker operation there to just give them a little bit more time to see the defense, how they line up, see what happens in the motion. But it was just like, gotta go. And like, I realized they had just spiked it. They didn't have a lot of time, but that felt like it was more rushed than it had to be. And that was more the clock management that bothered me.
Honestly, I actually was like, I forgot about that for a second. I thought we were going to see a flag. Like, even as the ball was being thrown incomplete, I thought there was a chance that they were going to give the Bears another shot at it with a delay of game because it said 0 on the clock. Like, they very easily could have got a penalty in that moment. Let's talk about the defense next because that's really the reason why the Bears lost this game. So we'll get into that next year on the Bears Squad Show. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. Whether you're starting a new routine or jumping into a player projections for the first time, trying something new can feel like a challenge. But with PrizePicks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure football matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never slows down, and PrizePicks lets you stay in control. PrizePicks is the daily fantasy app that makes watching sports even more exciting by letting you build lineups based on player projections. No drafts, no waiting, just pick more or less and play your way. I love the flexibility with the options like the flex play where you can still get paid even if one of your picks misses. And the new early payouts feature is a game changer. If a player starts out hot, you can cash out before the game ends. Download the PrizePick app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, so the defense, Lauren, was atrocious pretty much this entire game. Now, you've got a bunch of guys who are sick, guys who are dealing with injury, but your defensive line could not get to Brock Purdy at all, even when one of the best left tackles in the NFL goes down on the first play of the game. We've talked a lot about the pass rush being bad, but tonight was another, like, this group. If you're not going to win a playoff game this year, that's the group, and that's the reason why.
Yeah, and it's just been the story of the season. And at least in other games, it felt like Dennis Allen found ways to manufacture more of a pass rush with the blitz. But even in this game, I don't have blitz numbers yet. It didn't feel like he blitzed very much at all. And even when he did, it wasn't getting home. Like the 49ers blitzing was way more effective than the Bears blitzing was in this game. And we can talk about that when we talk about the offense. But and the 49ers are not a blitzing team either. But when they did, it seemed to work like a charm. And Dennis Allen showed blitz plenty, but bailed out of it over and over again. And it felt like a lot of man coverage behind that they just weren't able to keep up with. And then when they did go to zone, that didn't work either because Purdy could just sit in the pocket and have all day. So I understand that Dennis Allen is in a tough spot when you just don't have a pass rush. There's not a lot other than just blitzing like crazy. There's not a lot you can do to make up for it. And sometimes you just got to sit back and rush forward if they're burning you when you do blitz, like with Jordan Love. So I try not to kill Allen too much on this, but man, it's a real, there were definitely additional concerns defensively beyond just the pass rush that had me concerned. Like the pass rush is same old concern. And then there was effort and missed tackle issues that are new concerns on top of the long running issue of the pass rush.
Yeah. And I think even early in this game, I'm curious what it'll look like on the rewatch, but it felt like every time the 49ers would run the ball, it was very visible on TV that the Bears defensive line was all moving backwards in unison. They were all getting pushed back. So it's not even just they didn't have getting to Brock Purdy. It's they weren't getting anything. Whether it was Brian Robinson or Christian McCaffrey, obviously most of the game running the ball really well. The defensive line just got bullied this entire game. They had no shot in this one. And then, yeah, you mentioned the coverage stuff. I mean, Tremaine Edmonds.
Oof.
He's bad. He's bad. And like, I know we've talked about him from the very first show we did together about like guys that might not be on this roster next year, but like to be the third highest paid linebacker in the NFL and to be as bad as he was in coverage tonight against Tongas or McCaffrey, Tremaine Edmonds was brutal in this game.
And Nashawn Wright certainly came back down to earth quite a bit in this one too. And it's tough because like a lot of guys on defense were bad, and we can count it. We can chalk it up to like Shanahan's really good and puts these guys in a bad position. Like his whole thing is we're going to put your linebackers in hell and attack them with our tight ends and running back. So I can try and give Edmonds a little bit of grace, especially, but like Edwards wasn't that bad. You know, he had the pick six, obviously, but even beyond that, like he was making tackles. He was coming downhill in the running game. He wasn't getting absolutely toasted in coverage over and over again. And yet he was. And then we saw Nashawn Wright get beat a bunch. And like his tackling effort up the sideline on Christian McCaffrey on one of those plays was horrendous as he was trying to reach for him and get contained. Like, and I didn't think Kevin Byard played that well. I didn't think Brisker played that well. Like some of it can be, hey, everyone on defense is having a rough time and maybe getting a little outcoached by the opposing offensive mastermind. But man, they kind of all happened at the same time there as you're having maybe your worst pass rush game of the day. So it just kind of cascaded over and over.
These are just first half numbers that Nicholas Moreno tweeted out. But from PFF, Tremaine Edmonds in the first half was targeted 5 times, gave up 5 receptions for 46 yards. Nashawn Wright was targeted 5 times, gave up 4 catches for 73 yards. Like Kyle Shanahan clearly had a game plan going in of those 2 guys are the weakest players on the Bears. And like I get why everyone wanted Nashawn Wright to be a Pro Bowler and for that to be announced this week, and they're upset because of all the turnovers he's forced, but like he wasn't good in this game. And even, CJ Gardner-Johnson makes a huge play with the pick, but it's the penalties on him. So like your defense just let you down, it feels like, in every way in this game.
Yeah, like I'm trying to like count in my head like who on defense had a good game. I think Jalen Johnson ended up rotating with Stevenson for a while. I don't know how that played out, but we didn't really see after. I mean, Johnson obviously had the great first play, and so did Edwards. But after that, those guys were pretty quiet. When Stevenson got targeted once or twice, Johnson maybe once or twice. Edwards was probably fine. I mean, Austin Booker had a couple of batted passes and a couple of plays on the quarterback. Also missed a couple of plays on the quarterback that really hurt the team. So it's like outside of those guys, I mean, positives. Byard took a couple of really bad angles. Brisker got beat bad on that deep dig touchdown towards the end there to Juwan Jennings, where he just couldn't stay with him at all. Like it's hard to find a lot of guys on defense that you left saying like, oh, like he was a bright spot or a silver lining in an otherwise bad day up front.
Yeah, I think those are the guys. Like Jalen Johnson, I'm confused on why he's still rotating. Like I thought he was healthy enough to play all the snaps. Like they even said that at the beginning of the broadcast, like after the interception, was like they expect him to be out there for all of it. That's something that in their production meeting, they're being told by the coaching staff. And then the game starts and he's not out there. And like I think for the Bears starting, whether it's next week or going to the playoffs, like I still think the best option for them on defense is going to be Tyreek Stevenson on one side of the field and Jalen Johnson on the other side of the field. But if Jalen can't be out there every play, then it means Nashawn Wright has to be out there. And you have to be praying for these turnover games. But when you're playing Brock Purdy, the best version of Brock Purdy we've seen the last 2 weeks, I mean, it's not good enough. Like you need Jalen Johnson to be out there in the playoffs. Like, and if that means he has to sit out next week, that's fine. Like you need him against the Packers or whoever you play in the first round. You need him to be out there every snap.
And you kind of snuck it in there, but like that may be the biggest story of this game is kind of the one turnover from the Bears defense. Like I don't want to say that's the single reason why they lost, but like that's sort of like the difference in this game is that it was only one turnover. Yes, it was a pick six, and that in theory, should in a normal season for a normal team, one pick six should kind of be enough from a defense as far as playmaking turnovers. But like if they get any other turnovers in this game, like if that CJ Gardner-Johnson interception stands and there's no penalty, Bears win probably. Like if you stop any of those drives end in a turnover, that the Bears win this game. Like the fact that they could only get one ultimately is like the thing that was different this week than in previous weeks. Because they've had coverage issues in previous weeks. They've had pass rush issues in previous weeks. But like the difference between winning and losing was like you got one turnover on the first play of the game and you didn't get any more off of Purdy. And Purdy's been someone who, yes, has been playing really well, but like he's gotten away with some throws over the course of the season. It's had some turnover worthy plays. And if Austin Booker's there a half step sooner and strip sacks or just sacks the quarterback on a couple of those plays, or just one of those bad passes gets tipped to somebody, like any one of those plays, a turnover, Bears probably win this game. And yet that's where they fall short, and they live and die by it. And they died by it today.
Yeah, I've got the 49ers at 9 real possessions. I guess I don't know. I wouldn't count that end of the half one that they had. So I'll say 9 instead of 10. And 3 of them ended in non-touchdowns. Well, I guess one of them ended a touchdown for you. But you have the pick 6, 2 punts, and the other 6 were touchdowns. It's just, that's not, like, you have to get stops more often. And the thing is, too, is the end of the game, they were in position a couple times. Even on the punt that they eventually got off the field from that play where Austin Booker got to Brock Purdy, there was a 3rd and 7, 3 plays before that, where, again, they, let the 49ers off with ease. So, like, they had moments more in the second half than in the first half where they had a chance to get the 49ers off the field, and they just couldn't do it. Like they were incompetent, honestly, tonight, this whole game. And you mentioned sending blitzes. Like, there was even moments where they were highlighting that the Bears were sending 5 or 6 guys, and it didn't matter. Like, there was no pressure on Brock Purdy, whether they sent 4 or they sent 6 in this entire game.
Yeah, it was just disappointing from Dennis Allen, and I know I was just keeping an eye on the chat, and everyone's mad at Dennis Allen when you give up 42 points for sure. But like the thing I will give you there is, like, it felt like in every other game he's got one trick up his sleeve. Even Collinsworth or Tarico, one of them said, like, late in the game, Dennis Allen's always got that one play or that one blitz or that one something, and we just never saw it. Like, I wasn't expecting him to make a magical adjustment that was going to shut down the 49ers offense, but, like, can we get that one free rusher? Like, every game this season, there's one play where a defensive back, usually, whether it's Brisker, CJ Gardner-Johnson, or Kyler Gordon when he was healthy, there's always a play where somebody comes in and gets a big hit on the quarterback that was, like, schemed up really well by your defensive coordinator. And they just couldn't get even just that one play to be the big stop in that big moment. And they needed, even if it's not a turnover, like, just to make an actual stop, because the only 2 punts in this game, one was in the first quarter, and I guess one was in the early fourth quarter, but those were the 2 stops the Bears made all game. And it felt like the difference there was, like, the 49ers getting a stop for a field goal on the second to last drive, and then, of course, the very last stop. Like, the 49ers defense made 2 stops on the last 2 drives to give the Bears 3 points on those 2 drives, when the Bears really couldn't find that, like, one last gotta have it stop.
Yeah, and they've had a lot of bend but don't break moments this season. That's also that I think we've kind of maybe overlooked, where there's been a lot of times where the other team has been driving down the field, but your defense tightens up just enough to make it a field goal. And, like, that's also what's just missing from this game. The fact that it was all touchdowns from the 49ers. There's not one possession there in the red zone where they said it at one point, like, they ran 3 straight plays in the red zone for a touchdown. The 49ers did at one point because it was so easy for them in this game. And one of them wasn't 3 plays, 66 yards. There's 3 rushing plays. Like they ran down the field on you. So it was just all bad. And I struggle with, like, I get why there's anger towards Dennis Allen. I think, look, running a zone against these wide receivers that aren't super talented, I would say, like, I think you could do more man coverage a little bit in this game. Like, I think your guys can match up with, Jawan Jennings and, well, clearly not Pearsall, at least in the zone they were running, because he was torching them this entire game. I struggle with, like, wanting to be mad at Dennis Allen because his defense was terrible, but there is a severe lack of talent. Like you mentioned one play. You're getting, like, one Montez Sweat play a week, and it's getting him his sack numbers, but he didn't have a play this week. He didn't have that one moment in a big situation. Like, he's had a lot this season where he's a ghost for 99.9% of the game, but one play he comes up big, and Sweat, again, is just nowhere to be found. So I struggle with the idea of being, like, super mad at Dennis Allen when I'm just like, this defense doesn't have the talent to stop this 49ers team and Kyle Shanahan's offense.
And then you add in, penalties along the way. CJ Gardner-Johnson has a illegal use of hands to the face to negate the interception. Javon Dexter had a hands to the face that negated a play. Austin Booker had a defensive offsides in there. I think there was one more. I'm looking through my notes real quick, but I think that might have been it. But, like, there's just no margin of error when you're not getting anything else. And, like, there's still some sloppiness in there, but also, like, rocking a hard place for Dennis Allen because you go one-on-one coverage and then Deshaun Wright gets burned on a double move and it's wide open down the sideline. So it's just, it's frustrating, and, like, he's the guy in charge. So, like, he definitely deserves some blame, but to think, like, oh yeah, if you just fired Dennis Allen and made Al Harris defensive coordinator, I don't think you're getting a lot better of a defense right now.
No, it's marginal, if anything. And honestly, it probably goes in a worse direction because, like you mentioned, like there's been a lot of times this year where Dennis Allen's needed to scheme something up, and he has. He just didn't have it tonight, and neither did his players. So it's really it's a total loss on the defense for me in this one. Like, yeah, the offense falls short a little bit there at the end, but like the defense is the reason why you lost this game, and it is the one thing where it's like, okay, you go into week 18, you play the Lions. You're still playing for seeding for sure. Like you can be the 2 seed or the 3 seed at this point, but you're going to play a team that dropped 52 on you earlier this season that hasn't been playing super well as of late. You know, Jahmyr Gibbs hasn't been running the ball well. It's like, is there a bounce back performance next week before the playoffs start? Or, you know, we'll talk about this on Tuesday more, but like, is there a kind of an off week for the defense? But that's for Tuesday's squad show, which will be live here on YouTube, and you guys can catch the show on Tuesday night. But let's take our break here. Let's talk about the offense, what we saw, because as bad as the defense was, the offense just kept responding and responding and responding in this game. We'll talk about that and what we saw from Caleb and Burden next year on the Bears squad show. Today's show is brought to you by Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in, to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Gusto's automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits save hours every single week. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/LockedOnNFL and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/LockedOnNFL. One more time, that's gusto.com/LockedOnNFL. All right, Lawrence, so as bad as the defense was throughout this entire game, the offense was responding. Caleb was making elite throws in this game. I don't know if you got a favorite or what stood out the most from you, what you saw from this offense.
Yeah, it's hard to like nitpick and separate them, right? Like I think the play that I liked the most, maybe just aesthetically, was the hard count free play, right? Like to be able to see that come through, not just for like, oh, hey, nice big gain, you know, hey, nice to get a little something there, but like, no, a touchdown and I don't want to say wide open touchdown, but just like to be able to see that and have that all come together, and then the amount of gusto he put on that ball as well to get it in the end zone, like that was a really impressive play all around. That, yeah, sure, maybe it wasn't like a tight coverage type of throw or whatever, but like smart quarterbacking, good field vision, seeing it, and then like also Loveland and Williams reading it the right way, where like Loveland's route was not that direction. It was like a deep crosser to the left, and then halfway through he turned around and ran right on the scramble drill with Caleb, and they both knew to go where the space was going to be, and Caleb just stepped on the side of the pocket and absolutely, you know, threw a beautiful ball down there. Like I think the first touchdown to Burden was maybe more difficult in terms of like the physical aspects of it, but the mental aspects of the second one are the thing to me that I was like, wow, that was like that one got like a verbal out loud reaction to no one else in the room with me, because I was like, oh wow, there he is. Like that's the Aaron Rodgers play right there.
Yeah, and I know he said like that's the quarterback he grew up watching. He's got it. Like he's got that play down. That's one thing that, like, being on the other side of it for all these years of Aaron Rodgers and seeing Caleb Williams be able to perform that so well, it feels like once every 3 weeks at least, if it's not happening more often than that, like getting the hard count and being able to get, you know, make the big play there. And the Burnham one, I mean, he's flat-footed. He's got a guy in his face. He rips that thing, 35 yards on a dime to Luther Burden. The deep ball was just there for the Bears, and it has been recently. And I'm a little surprised with like how little you got from DJ Moore in this game with how well the offense performed. Like I just thought you would need something like no Zacchaeus, really no DJ Moore, and it's Burden, it's Walker, it's Loveland, and that's basically your offense in this game. And Caleb was just making it work with like those 3 guys.
Yeah, it's for it to be specifically those 3 guys, right? Rookies, the future of the team. I mean, I don't know if Ja'Day Walker is going to be like a huge part of the future, but still, like in a game with Rome Odunze out and DJ Moore at less than 100% and probably a lot closer to 0% than 100% at this point. Like it felt like we can functionally say DJ Moore was kind of a complete non-factor at this point. 4 targets, 1 catch, 7 yards. Like he's more of a decoy, I guess, but otherwise just like not out there. And so this is all you got. And to be able to be like on the same page and connect with guys that certainly early in the season, that connection wasn't quite there. And 2 guys in Loveland and Burden that like weren't around for OTAs or minicamp because of injuries and even slow going at training camp. Like to see that all come together this way is maybe the biggest long-term takeaway from this game. Like, yeah, you lost and yeah, the defense was bad. And yeah, all this stuff is really important right now, but like big picture, that's what's going to matter the most, 24 months from now. If we look back, it's like, oh yeah, that was the Luther Burden game. And as long as this injury doesn't prove to be serious, like it could be a real, launching pad point of his career. It sounds like Ben Johnson after the game didn't have any updates on Burden, but Burden did meet with the media at his locker in the locker room, which is usually a good sign that, he's not dealing with something more serious, but I haven't heard a concrete update on exactly, where things might stand with him. They're probably still waiting for results.
Yeah, I think that's a good sign. He's meeting with the media. Frankly, I think when players are significantly hurt, they don't typically do that. So at least as we're live here, we'll take that as a positive. But it's that connection to me is you're right, for the long term, it's just awesome. But for the short term, I think it's also interesting with like the impending return of Rome Odunze, because I'd say through a season and a half roughly of Rome and Caleb, like that connection hasn't really been there. There's been a lot of times where Rome's not in the spot that Caleb thinks he's going to be in. And there's just, you can see where he's like, I thought you're going to keep running. And they're not on the same connection. But Burden and Caleb seem to just have that connection immediately. And you think about like the long term, it's kind of like, I'm like, that kind of feels like the guy. Like he's making the big plays when it matters most. And I know Rome's dad would be upset about this, but Rome still has a lot of critical drops this season. And now Burden had one tonight.
Yeah.
But he also has a play on a 3rd and 10 or a 4th and 10, whatever it was. And it's short at 3rd and 10, short of the sticks. And he puts these guys on skates. Like it was a nasty play from him. He's honestly might be my favorite player on the Bears right now.
I say that felt like of all the 6 catches, or what was it, the total? 8 catches for 138 yards and a touchdown. Like, yeah, the touchdown was the big play, but like that specific stop and start short of the sticks at the end there was crazy. Like, I don't understand how you can decelerate and accelerate so quickly like that. Like, that's why you drafted him play right there. Like, yeah, the deep touchdown. Yeah, you can find a lot of receivers, not a lot, but like you can find receivers that can run a vertical route. And I think Kyle Shanahan even implied it was kind of a coverage bust on that play, that like, the cornerback or the safety there kind of got caught in between two. It was kind of a dagger concept and was kind of caught in between. Like, okay, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, maybe even Ja'Day Walker can all make that play. But like, I don't know that any other player on the Bears can take that 4-yard out route, stop, turn, get upfield, and turn that into a first down on, I think that was a 3rd down, if I remember correctly. Like, that was a hugely critical play in that moment that had no business. It was 3rd and 10 and it had no business getting a first down. There was the last drive of the game. Like, and I mean, that was, it's like, you can't put into words just how insane that play was.
Yeah. And you got a 3rd and 8 earlier in the second half. That is a critical play. And he rolls out and he finds Luther Burden for 27 yards. There's the one where Caleb's rolling out to his left. He dinks it to Burden and takes it deep, like just a bunch of yak on the play. Like, he's just finding a way. And then again, like on a 4th and 5, your most critical play, where does Caleb go? He goes to Colson Loveland. Like that connection on a critical down. I can't believe it's still open, Lauren, because it's like it's the only place he goes. Like when he needs a 3rd or 4th down, like the most critical situations, it goes to Colson Loveland. It feels like, and that's why the last play of the game, I was like, oh, this ball is going to Loveland. That's right in my mind. And like maybe when we re-see it, like we'll see, like, okay, it was intended for Loveland before everything broke down, but that connection with Loveland too continues to grow. Like, these young guys they're balling out. It makes like you've won the North. You're gonna be a top 3 seed in the playoffs, and your 2 rookie players, really 3 if you include Manungai, are just awesome this season.
Yeah, there's something about the reliability of Loveland that is just so reassuring, I guess. Like, it's just like I have this faith every time the ball goes to him. Like, it's critical 3rd down, 4th down, slant route over the middle of the field. And like, I feel like a lot of times with Kmet, ball comes to him, and I got to see him come up with it to really, truly trust that he didn't lose control going to the ground or whatever. But like with Loveland, it's such a relieving automatic of like, oh, Loveland, all right, it's good. Like that first, and like that's what made the drop so surprising. But at least like, I'd rather he drop the easy ones than the tough ones, I guess, in that kind of situation. Like you could afford it there and absolutely, make up for it with some of the other plays he made in this game. And I was looking back over the replay of the final throw of the game, and you can see where Caleb was trying to fire it in. Loveland was in the area, but someone else was I can't tell which receiver it was. Somebody else was working back towards the quarterback there. It looks like it's Jade Walker he was trying to fire it into, to either he or Loveland in that side of the end zone. So like you can tell like he's got confidence in these guys to say, no, I can knife it in there rather than the jump ball possibility that we talked about.
Yeah, and then Jade Walker again, like stepping in, and I don't know what his future is for this team, but like, is there a world in which DJ Moore is not a Bear next year, and it's Roma Dunze and Luther Burden and Loveland and maybe Cole Kmet's gone too, and it's maybe not Smythe, but another tight end, but like Walker is like a fixture in this offense with another veteran Zacchaeus level receiver in that room? Like I think the answer is yes. He's impressive. Like I'm shocked that Bears don't just have to sign him at this point, the way he's played in these last two games, and someone's not going to try to steal him off their practice squad.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely shown you everything you're looking for from a young player who, works hard on special teams, and then when he gets his opportunities on offense, like absolutely takes full advantage of them. I think for a guy like Walker, like we've seen young players occasionally like have these little spurts and then kind of flame out. And like the difference is like, once you start putting tape once you start putting tape out there for teams, cornerbacks learn your moves and how you run routes. And it's the guys who can then adapt and stay one step ahead and develop as receivers that become regular parts of the rotation. And it's the one trick pony types that kind of flame out. And so like, I look at Antoine Randall and that being a big factor here of like, if Randall gets hired away to be a offensive coordinator or even a pass game coordinator on some other team this offseason, there's talk that Detroit might try and bring him back if they fire their OC, like that kind of thing could be the difference between like Walker being able to take that next step with the right coaching, or, if he gets replaced and, gets less than elite coaching, like that can be the difference with a player like this that kind of teeters right on that edge. But he absolutely belongs a lot more, or as a much bigger part of this conversation than he would have been, 3 months ago.
Yeah, like frankly, like even with like Rome back, like I think I'd rather see Walker than Zacchaeus at this point the rest of the season. Like I don't know how you pull that off without faking an injury, because Zacchaeus is just sick. There's a bug going around the Bears locker room, it sounds like. I mean, Darnell Wright flew out at 6:30 this morning out of Chicago to head to San Francisco, they said, and he played this entire game. So like you are dealing with that, but like I would be pro Walker over Zacchaeus, and at this point the rest of the season. Now, one thing we haven't mentioned at all, I don't think, through 43 minutes of the show is the running game, because they ran the ball 22 times, 110 yards. Swift has 2 touchdowns in this game, and look, they ran the ball like the per carry numbers look good. 5 yards as a team, 6.8 or 6 for Swift, 4.8 from Anungai. But Lauren, they really didn't run the ball much in this game. Were you surprised? Do you think that's just like what the 49ers were giving them? And the fact that Caleb was just thrown all over the place. Like, how'd you feel at the run game in this one?
Yeah, definitely surprised. Given that the offense scores 38 points or whatever, you I guess technically 7 of those were from the pick six, but like given that the offensive scoring wasn't an issue down the stretch, like I don't find myself like second guessing it in terms of like, oh, well, they should have done this, and if they would have run the ball a little bit more, then X, Y, or Z could have been a lot different. Not necessarily, but like 17 handoffs compared to 42 pass attempts for Williams, because 5 of those runs were Williams himself. Like that doesn't feel like enough. And the 49ers are not a team that plays a lot of base defense. They are like among the league leaders in nickel and dime package. Like they're not loading you up with a bunch of linebackers in the box because they've had a lot of injuries at that position. So it feels like the Bears should have been able to run the ball more. I don't want to necessarily say better, because they did run the ball well, but just in terms of like how the defense was getting gassed so much in the first half, like the play split at halftime. I wrote it down somewhere in here. I just got to find where halftime is in my notes. It was the Bears had 19 plays. The 49ers had 47. Jeez. And the time of possession was 8 for the Bears and 22 for the Niners. Like, I don't know that, say if the Bears run the ball more and they cut that time of possession, and make it say 10 or 12 minutes instead of 8. And then the 49ers, like, is that extra 2 to 4 minutes of time possession make the defense that much less gas to get one more stop. Like it's hard to kind of reach that far and say, well, running the ball more would have changed, the defense would have changed, all that stuff, but also can't help but feel like it wouldn't have hurt if you could have stuck with that a little bit more. And I don't know, I guess it didn't feel like, wow, the Bears are getting everything they want on the ground, and why aren't they doing it more? It was more like, it's fine, it's getting the job done, but they're not stopping Caleb in the passing game. So if it ain't broke, why try and fix it?
Yeah, it seemed like the immediate reaction to the first drive was, why didn't they run the ball? Three passes, 3 incompletions, 3 and out. It's 7-7. You get the pick six, 49ers score, you go 3 and out. Now, this is where you get one of your punts that you force of your 2 in this game. So like you get the ball back, it's 2 runs and incompletion. So you've run 6 plays at that point already to the 49ers 14. But then the Niners go down and score in 3 plays. Now the Bears respond, like as they point out in the broadcast, this is the first game in NFL history that has been 7-7, 14-14, 21-21, 28-28, and 35-35. Honestly, that kind of blew my mind that's never happened before. I think they also was the first NFL game this season where it's been 14-14 at the end of the first quarter.
Really?
And I was like, I'm pretty confident that's what Mike Tirico said. And I was like, oh, okay, like that's interesting. But it was a shootout. And so I don't want to be overly critical of the run game. Like I did feel like Monungai was running it better than Swift, except for when Swift was near the end zone. Like in the red zone, he was crushing it. But I did feel like Monungai was running the ball a little bit better in this game than Swift. But it's hard to complain about the offense at all, honestly, in this game.
And I think with Ben Johnson, I think he kind of gets this feeling at some point where it's like, okay, our defense is not going to make any stops, so I can't take my foot off the gas too much here, right? I can't go too like, let's keep dialing up, let's keep pushing this vertically, let's keep trying to go blow for blow and shot for shot here, and that maybe slowing it down with the running game could have some counterproductive effects there. That like if you're all of a sudden, if you're asking your offense to have to go down the field in 12 or 14 plays instead of 6 or 8, like there's more room to make mistakes there. Like we kind of talked about with playing the Packers in recent weeks, where it's like if you make them run the ball and throw short the whole time, they're going to make a mistake somewhere along that way. And if this was a game where like you kind of needed those explosive plays, and that you weren't getting explosive runs consistently. I mean, each one of them had a big run, but it wasn't like huge chunks. It was a lot of like 5-6 yards, which is a great running game. But like in this game, it felt like you needed the 20-yard completion, the 30-yard completion. They had multiple 35+ yard throws to Bird and Loveland on those touchdowns, like bigger chunk plays to kind of, keep the 49ers defense on its heels and keep yourself from making mistakes and blowing it on a drive.
All right, we'll take our final break here. When we get back, let's discuss, it's kind of a weird weekend, right? Where you lose the game, which you're a little disappointed, obviously, but the Bears are the champions of the NFC North. We'll talk about that next year on the Bears Squad Show. So, Lauren, it's obviously, again, like it's a little weird. Like you just lost the game, but you win the North for the first time since 2018. Your first time since Ryan Poles went to the podium and for some reason said, we're going to take the North and never give it back. When he said it in the moment, I was like, I love this guy. That 5 minutes later, I was like, why did he say that? So they finally win the North, and they do it, and they're set up to be a 2 or 3 seed now. They can't win the 1 seed. We know I think it's the Saturday night game will be for the 1 seed in the NFC between the Seahawks and the 49ers next week. But even after this loss, like how does it feel knowing that like the Bears have won the NFC North this year?
Yeah, it's definitely exceeded all of our expectations at this point. Like I think in the preseason or whatever, fans, if you heard Bears fans saying, oh, we're winning the NFC North this season, it's kind of like, all right, yeah, like Homer always rooting for the best, and more power to anybody feeling that way. Of course, you should root for your team and be excited about your team, but like it wasn't in the like pragmatic, realistic realm of like, yeah, maybe double-digit wins and maybe the playoffs, but like winning the NFC North, like you're just coming off of the Lions having 14 or 15 wins and the Vikings having 13 or whatever wins, and like not that they were going to win that many games again, but 4th place Bears are not going to go to 1st place Bears. Last to first is not really within question there. But then, the Lions are a lot worse than we thought. The Vikings implode pretty good in there, and then the Packers are coming up short down the stretch here, and all of a sudden the Bears can kind of just, I don't want to say luck their way into the NFC North because they've absolutely won all those games, but like it wasn't like the Bears dominated the Lions in the first game. It wasn't like they've dominated the Vikings. They certainly haven't dominated the Packers. Like they've not been dominating their own division necessarily, but they have absolutely earned it by just winning more consistently than everybody else. And that always counts for something, even if it's, game winning drives here and one possession games there. Like, you keep doing it over and over again, it counts. It means something. It's not fluky when it just keeps happening.
Yeah, and honestly, it's one where it's like, I just enjoy it. I think it's because like this division's crazy. Like, I'm surprised by this number. I don't know if you've seen this, but the Vikings are favored by 6.5 points on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Is Clayton Tune starting? Is Malik Willis out and so is Jordan Love? So like they're just like they're the 7th seed, so they're just gonna put up their, I watched them play with Houston. Like maybe that's why. But it's Max Brosmer.
They don't have anything to play for. I mean, literally, they're locked into the 7th seed. Like, winning won't move them up, losing won't move them down. So I can understand where they feel like. But do the Vikings have anything to play for? Are they been eliminated from the playoffs? Like, I don't.
Yeah, they're out.
Yeah. So neither team has anything to play for in other than just division pride or whatever. So I don't understand then why the Vikings would be huge favorites in that regard. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. So like there's a path to where, if the Bears lose and the Packers lose to the Lions and the Vikings, every single team in this division is going to finish above 500 this year. Everyone would finish at 9-8 or 9-7-1, and then the Bears would finish at 11-6 this season. So like you still play in what's going to be deemed as the toughest division in football, with 4 teams finishing above 500 or very closely if it's goes the Bears and the Packers way, and you have 2 8 and 9 teams in your division. But it's just, it still feels like a little bittersweet because you didn't win this game. But to what you said at the beginning, like when I first tossed you, it's like you never thought the Bears were going to be here. Like, unless you're just all you have on is your homer hat, they've passed all the expectations. And I feel like this game and the way Caleb has played recently has checked the big box too. Like I think I'm there now, and we'll talk about this more on Tuesday, I think, with you, me, and Taylor. But I think we're now at the point where it's like, okay, the Bears have a head coach, the Bears have a quarterback, and they're winning football games in year one. It's just kind of all gravy right now.
Yeah, I think it's to the point now where we know there's an established floor that's really, really high, right? Of like, okay, we know Caleb Williams is at least a very good starting NFL quarterback, and we know Ben Johnson is at least a very good NFL head coach. And from here, the question is figuring out, like, is this a Jordan Love tier quarterback, or is this a eventually Joe Burrow, Josh Allen tier quarterback, right? Like, is this a Jalen Hurts, or is this something more like, like long term? Where does he fit in that category? And same kind of thing with Ben Johnson, right? Like, is this going to be like an up and down kind of thing sometimes, or is this going to be like truly the next McVay, Shanahan, Andy Reid, who's like perennially great, or is this a hot right now, but then teams are going to adjust a little bit, and then he's got to adjust and kind of do this up and down, back and forth thing? But we know the answer is not like, no, he's bad. Like that has been made clear in a way that's very different, I think, from the like 2018 Mitch Trubisky, Matt Nagy dynamic, where yes, like that defense was carrying the offense. Like, people can talk about the Bears defense being unsustainable because of all the turnovers, but like that, the defense is not carrying the offense. The defense is making up for its own issues by getting turnovers, not making up for the offense's issues by getting turnovers to make the offense's job easy. It's like, instead of making the offense's job impossible, the turnovers make the offensive job manageable. But the offense exists well on its own, whereas like 2018 felt a little bit more like that was an elite defense and a good enough offense, and this feels a lot more like real good sustainable offense and quarterback play, and most times is overcoming defensive shortfalls.
Yeah, I think too, to that point where it's like, if you're thinking about the future of the Bears with where they're sitting at now in Ben Johnson's first season, Caleb Williams' second season, is I think you can fix your defense through the draft. Like, you look at what the Los Angeles Rams have done. The best player of our generation walked away, and their defensive line is arguably better because they've crushed it in the draft. Like, they just, bring in all these guys from Florida State and everywhere. Like, they've added to their team. And so now ultimately the question is going to be, is like, where do the Bears end up this season? What seed do they end up with? And if you missed it, the Bears are going to be playing. They released the schedule as soon as the game was over, basically. The Bears got one of the 325 games on Sunday. So Saturday is going to be Panthers Buccaneers for the NFC South, for the last spot in the playoffs. Seahawks 49ers will be the night game, and that will be for the 1 seed in the NFC. So that'll be important for Bears fans. It's like potentially where you think you're going to be traveling. You know, the 49ers win that game, they don't have to leave San Francisco if they win the Super Bowl or go to the Super Bowl this year. So it works out well for them. Just gut feeling, like, go ahead.
It was like that's the thing about, like, we talk a lot about winning the NFC North and like the symbolism of all that, but like I think and like very meaningful. I don't want to like overlook that, but like I find myself caring a little bit more about having the home playoff game and like locking in the higher seed, right? Like I know you can't get the higher seed in the home playoff game without winning the division, but like I find myself feeling a little bit less like jazzed about, okay, yeah, if are you first place or you second place in the division? Yeah, it matters, but like it matters more that no, you're starting with a home playoff game. Like you're not going on the road to San Francisco or Seattle or Philadelphia or however the seeding would play out if you weren't in first place in the division. But like it's easy to kind of overlook like how important that's going to be. Like unless you were playing the Panthers on the road, you would much rather have that home playoff game, and you could potentially, if things play out right as the 2 seed, you could have 2 home playoff games before the NFC Championship game. So like there's a real tangible advantage there beyond just like we're taking the North and not giving it back kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's why like this game on Sunday is going to matter, because I think it goes beyond that. Like, look, whoever wins that game in Seattle and San Francisco, they're going to end up potentially playing together again. And, it's the Rams and the 49ers or Seahawks are going to be some combination of the 1, 5, and 6 seed in the playoffs, which means it's very possible that if you knock out Green Bay in the first round as the Bears, if you're the 2 seed, well, one of those teams could be going to Seattle. You get Rams, Seahawks in the first round of the playoffs. That means there's a path to where the Bears could host an NFC title game this year. Like that 1 seed could get knocked out with how good these teams in the West all are. So like that's why to me, like Sunday's game does matter for that. Like I don't want to be the 3 seed. I want the 2 seed just on the off chance that like the 1 seed gets knocked out in their first playoff game.
Not to bring this back down, but like, did you kind of get the feeling in this 49ers game that like, this is not a defense right now that's going to win playoff games? Like, I mean, they beat the Packers. Okay. So like, yes, I think this defense, could they beat Green Bay? I mean, especially if Jordan Love is still out or, whatever their quarterback, whatever their injury situation looks like, maybe you can win a playoff game. But like this defense against the 49ers looked like this, like that's what's going to stop them from going on a playoff run here. It's like, not that, oh, Caleb's not ready for the bright lights or that the team is too young to, make the big plays in playoff games, because we see younger quarterbacks sometimes struggle in those moments. It's like, no, I think they'll be fine. It's the defense and the pass rush that just got gashed for 42 points that I'm a lot more worried. Like that feels like, oh, this is not a playoff caliber defense right now, but maybe the 49ers don't have a playoff caliber defense either. So then all of a sudden, if they're beatable and the Packers are beatable, and you can start to talk yourself into, well, maybe the Bears are one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the NFC, and that could be winning a playoff game or 2.
I felt that way during this game. I was like, oh, this defense is like, it doesn't matter if it's Jordan Love or if it's, Matt Stafford or Brock Purdy or Sam Darnold in the first round of the playoffs, however it ends up fully shaking out. Like, I'm like, this defense, this performance wasn't good enough. You're going to need, we've talked about it all season on these post-game shows. Like, there's too many times where the only time the Bears get off the field is with a turnover. And tonight they forced 2 punts, but like the 49ers just went up and down the field on you at will, on the ground and in the air. See, that was like, I was like, okay, the offense, I think, can compete with anyone at this point in the playoffs. But to win a playoff game, like you might have to win playoff games 45-42. That's not easy to do.
It almost feels like the playoff success depends on which quarterback they're going to face, because I think you can get the turnovers off Sam Darnold. He'll give you those sometimes. I think you can get the turnovers off of, Malik Willis, and I think you can get the turnovers even potentially off of Brock Purdy. I don't know if you're getting those turnovers off of, say, like Matthew Stafford, if you end up playing him in the first round. And even Jalen Hurts, like the Bears got a couple of him, but he is not a turnover-prone quarterback at all. Like those are harder to count on with some of these quarterbacks, whereas like you need the volatile boom or bust quarterback to come to town. You can't, but if you're going against the safe quarterback, the Jordan Loves and the maybe Hurts, but Staffords of the world, that's where you feel like you're really going to get into trouble.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. It's great that we get to talk about Bears playoffs football. Last year when I started doing these post-game shows, it was bleak, but now it's fun this year. Even on a loss, like, you won the North. It was a great game. It sucks they didn't win, but we'll be back with you. Go ahead.
We should mention Caleb Williams is 270 yards away from a 4,000-yard season. He is 108 yards away from the Bears' single-season passing record.
How much do you care about that going to Sunday?
I mean,
Because I feel like I've moved the goalpost myself. One of my friends at my ESPN station here in Houston was asking me. I was like, man, I don't care anymore. Like they have 11 wins. Like it would be nice because it's gonna happen. Caleb's gonna get it. He's gonna get it in his career. Like I have like that stat might be out there next year if he doesn't get on Sunday. Like that's fine. Like they won 11 games this year. So while I would like that box to be checked and never have to hear that stat again, they're just gonna move the goalpost and say the Bears only have one.
yeah. I find myself feeling like absolutely need to see him set the single season record. Does not have to be 4,000 yards. Like if we get through week 18 and he can't get 108 passing yards against the Lions on Sunday, you got something bad happened here that's going to cause some real problems. Even if it's not injury, just like has a bad game and only throws for 100 yards or under 100 yards, big red flag going in the playoffs. Like I need that box checked. But if he throws for 225 yards and he's 50 yards short of 4,000 yards, who cares? You win the division. You're hosting a playoff game. He also then would have set the single season franchise record. Like that just lets him break it again next time he gets 4,000 yards.
Yeah, and he's going to get 4,000 in the playoffs. I know that doesn't count towards the stats, but like he's going to kind of get there in a way. All right, that will do it for this episode of the Bears Squad Show. You can catch us after every single game. So next week after the Bears 325 game versus the Detroit Lions, we'll be here with you. But also this Tuesday at 6:15, we'll be live here on YouTube, and then the podcast will drop for all of you listening on the audio version. Thank you to everyone listening, watching, commenting, even all the Packers fans trolling in the chat. Thanks for hanging out with us here today on the show. That will do it for us tonight. We'll talk to you on Tuesday. Peace.